What's going on, guys, and welcome to my review of the Black Friday edition of WWE Friday Night SmackDown for November 26, 2021. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoying your holiday weekend. We had a pretty passable edition of SmackDown this week. A new number one contender was named for the Universal Championship, or so we thought. The announcement that Brock Lesnar's suspension is over has been lifted, and he will be back next week on SmackDown. We had some storylines furthered, some decent wrestling, and some other stuff. So let's get right into it. We opened the show with the Universal Champion Roman Reigns addressing the audience and boasting about his win over the WWE Champion Big E over at Survivor Series on Sunday, talking about how the list of people he has beaten has gotten so long that he can't even remember everyone he's beaten by this point. And there's a long list of people, a lot of former world champions, current world champions, stuff like that. He's had an incredible run. He has beaten everyone who has stepped up to challenge him for that championship, and he doesn't see anyone else even coming close on the horizon to taking that title from him. So, a pretty basic promo here from Roman Reigns, but it was good for what it was, setting forth the number one contender's Black Friday Invitational Battle Royal in the main event to determine his next challenger. In the opening match, we saw Drew McIntyre and Jeff Hardy team up against Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. Hardy came to the aid of Drew, or rather the other way around. McIntyre came to the aid, of Jeff Hardy last week on SmackDown. You know, when Hardy beat Madcap Moss, what was it, via DQ or in like a minute or something or whatever it was. So that led to the tag team match on this show. Good for what it was. They got some time. McIntyre and Hardy are very popular. You can tell, though, between Hardy and McIntyre, when the two of them came out, the crowd was louder for Jeff Hardy. People fucking love Jeff Hardy. He still gets amazing reactions every time he's out there. So that has got to be an indicator, whether it's soon, whether it be around WrestleMania season. Jeff Hardy has got to be in line for a future feud with Roman Reigns over that Universal Championship. The guy is just so damn over. This was good, though. McIntyre laying the groundwork for Hardy, who hit the Swanton Bomb, and Madcap Moss to pick up the win. So good match here. We had the in-ring debut on SmackDown of Ridge Holland after that, taking on Cesaro. So remember, Holland helped Sheamus last week beat Cesaro in the Fatal 4-Way to qualify for Team SmackDown at Survivor Series for the men. So Cesaro had a measure of revenge this week. Was way too short of a match to really be what I thought it could have been, that hard-hitting, highly physical affair. But for what it was good. Cesaro won with like an inside cradle-like move, so it wasn't really decisive. And I wasn't as angry coming out of this with Cesaro beating Holland in his debut as I was when, for example, Jeff Hardy beat Karrion Kross on Raw a few months ago. That was slightly different just because Kross was the NXT champion. He was undefeated. Holland, I think, literally lost his last NXT match on TV a few weeks ago. The guy lost to Kyle O'Reilly before he left. He lost to a bunch of people. So Holland is far from undefeated. He has lost a handful of matches in the last couple of months on NXT TV. Obviously, you want to start out your main roster run with a win, but the guy's aligned with Sheamus. I think he'll be okay. Cesaro barely eked out the win, and Cesaro really hasn't won much of note on SmackDown lately. So I would argue he needed the win more than Ridge did, even though this was Ridge's in-ring debut. And it wasn't decisive, so again, Holland needs more seasoning, and I think he'll get that from working with guys like Cesaro, like Sheamus. This was good for what it was. I didn't hate the outcome as much as I thought I would. Cesaro, it's not, it's Cesaro, it's okay. It's more so, Cesaro needed a win. He's not beyond damaged goods. He's been on SmackDown a fair amount this year. It's not looking Hardy beat Karrion Kross. Hardy was not on Raw at all leading up to that point. Hardy was barely seen on Raw. He wasn't pushed at all. Whatever, so this isn't the exact same thing. And Karrion Kross was undefeated for like a year and a half. He was also the NXT champion. Ridge is neither one of those things. So him losing here is not the end of the world, I didn't think. We had Angel taking on Rick Boogs after that in a Thanksgiving Leftovers Throwdown match. So after what we saw last week, I thought we would get a continuation of the tag team feud with Nakamura and Boogs teaming up against Los Lotharios. Instead, we got a singles match, Angel beating Boogs in a matter of minutes. This was your typical holiday filler, but for what it was fine. I didn't hate this, but it leaves me to question where we're going with this. If this is a tag team feud, then the Intercontinental Championship probably should not be on Shinsuke Nakamura. They already had Nakamura beat Angel in that championship contenders match last week, so we know they're not building the Angel and Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship. So with that being said, What the fuck is the point of Nakamura being Intercontinental Champion, a title he hasn't defended, by the way, since like September, if he's not going to defend it against Angel ultimately? So this kind of feels like a waste of time. I like Los Lotharios getting TV time. I think that's great. But again, as a tag team feud, this would be fine if Nakamura wasn't the Intercontinental Champion. But he is. It feels like they already forgot about Corbin beating Nakamura several weeks ago. Not that I'm clamoring for a Corbin-Nakamura match, Part 8, in 2021. But still, you would think that he would want a title shot after pinning the fucking champion a couple of weeks ago. I guess, that Intercontinental title doesn't really mean anything to Corbin, but, whatever. This was decent, and I didn't really mind the whole stipulation bullshit. It was whatever. But, so we got to get that championship off of Nakamura if he's not going to defend it. We also had a new vignette for Xia Li, different from the one that aired for her last week. I'm liking these vignettes. I don't know if I didn't say that last week because I didn't do a SmackDown review. I was busy, but yeah, I like the vignette for Xia Li. I thought it was well done. It was a little different than what we normally see. Like, for example, the Veer Mahan vignettes we've been getting on Raw recently. It's been just him standing there and him beating up people in the ring. Pretty basic vignette video package. The Xia Li stuff adds more, character development to her character, I guess. Gives you more of a reason to care about her, have her stand out more. I think it's interesting. So we'll see where it goes. They could ultimately bomb with her when she ultimately shows up on SmackDown and not know what to do with her and whatever. But I do think that, I don't think she'll fail. I think she's talented enough to make it work, and I think it's better than the Tian Shaw shit they were doing with her on NXT. They didn't call up Mia Ying or Karen Q or whatever the fuck her name is now, and Boa, who's just not good. I think Xia Li is better off on her own at this point, so we'll see what they have in mind for her, and I'm liking the vignette so far. So after the Thanksgiving Leftovers Throwdown match, we had Charlotte Flair out in the ring being interrupted by Toni Storm. Toni Storm coming to look for another title opportunity. Not another, but, she's been asking Charlotte for weeks, I want to be next in line for a shot at that SmackDown Women's Championship. You haven't defended that title since coming to SmackDown, I don't think. And Charlotte's been the champion now for a month and a half. So Toni wants a title shot. 2 weeks ago, Charlotte told her in the ring no, and then walked off. Last week, she entertained the idea of giving her a title shot when they interacted backstage. This week, Charlotte once again said no, and said basically that she did nothing to deserve it before attempting to attack her and then throwing pie in her face and walking off. Toni did absolutely nothing about it. Nothing. So that was that. This was a weird segment. I like the idea of a Charlotte-Toni feud. I think I talked about that 2 weeks ago. But the way it's been executed so far has been just bizarre. Just bizarre. I mean, the thing with Toni, too, Charlotte isn't wrong. From a storyline standpoint, Toni has not won a singles match on SmackDown since fucking July. I'm not even kidding. She has barely wrestled on TV at all since getting called up over the summer. She got called up in July, beat Zelina Vega, disappeared from TV for like a month. She wasn't on SmackDown at all in August. Showed up in September, won a tag team match with, I think, Liv Morgan against Carmella and Zelina via countout. So she won that. She had another match against Zelina in the opening round of the Queen's Crown Tournament, lost that to Zelina. And she hasn't, I know she wrestled on Sunday at Survivor Series and got 2 eliminations, but her team ultimately did not win and she got eliminated as well. So Charlotte technically is accurate. And if you want to build up Toni Storm for a title shot, you either have her win matches or make her look strong in these segments. And she hasn't done either one of those things. She has not won any matches, and she hasn't been made to look strong in these interactions with Charlotte. She was made to look like a fucking loser here, getting pie in her face, and then Charlotte walking off and Toni doing nothing about it. And the commentators were saying, oh, Toni Storm got humiliated. She was embarrassed by Charlotte Flair, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't exactly make me want to see Toni Storm challenge for a championship if she's made to look like a complete fool. Clearly they don't have high hopes or they don't have much in mind for Toni Storm, but the fact they're putting her on TV, I guess, is a step in the right direction. But the way they've booked this feud so far, to me, is just weird. Very weird. Speaking of the women, we had a women's tag team match. Naomi and Sasha Banks, formerly a Team Bad, reuniting here against Natalya and Shayna Baszler. Aaliyah was seen backstage talking to, I forgot who, but that was, the Aaliyah thing was so weird too, so I don't give a fuck about Aaliyah, but, she won that tag team match on SmackDown 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then she got removed from Team SmackDown for the women. There's been no follow-up with that since then. She acts scared backstage, and last week she and Naomi got screwed out of a tag team match when the referee screwed him over because she was put up to it by Sonya, and that was never really followed up with after that one interaction between Sonya and the ref backstage last week. So no mention, I don't think, of that this week, unless I missed something. And Shotzi was also not on the show. So Sasha and Shotzi, that's a tongue twister, Sasha and Shotzi, their bad blood might be over. After what we saw on SmackDown last week, Sasha beating her clean as a sheet. Shotzi getting bumped from Survivor Series, clean as a sheet. By, I forgot who the last people standing were. I think it wasn't it Shotzi and Bianca? I think it was. And Bianca won, obviously. Shotzi was not on the show. So, Naomi and Sasha teamed up instead against Natalya and Shayna. And good match. They got some time. Way more time than I was expecting. A lot of these matches with Naomi and Shayna and Natalya have gone like all of fucking 2 minutes the last couple of weeks. This got like 10. Very likely because Sasha was involved, but at least it got some time. Naomi picked up the win for her team against Natalya, as she should have. And then she and Sonya faced off afterward. The feud's been good. They still have not given us a reason as to why Sonya has it out for Naomi. That being said, though, hopefully they can build to a match at day one. That's got to be where this is going. They've been dragging this out now for almost 3 months. They've got to get to the next chapter in this storyline, the next chapter in this story. And that chapter has got to be a match. Now, they almost did it on SmackDown like a month or two ago, and I'm glad they held off. But now they got to actually build to a match between the two, and it's got to be on pay-per-view. I mean, they could do it on TV too, but we're so close to day one. It's just over a month away. If we can build to that and do the match there, I think that'd be perfect. So hopefully that's what they have in mind. And then in the main event, we had the Black Friday Invitational Battle Royal to determine the next number one contender to the Universal Championship, being won by none other than Sami Zayn. We had the final four was Sheamus, Sheamus, Corbin, Ricochet, and Jeff Hardy. And then Hardy outlasted them all. Pretty standard Battle Royal up to that point. Nothing really notable about it. And then Sami Zayn, who got tossed out earlier on, through the bottom rope or middle rope or whatever, reemerged, totally forgot about it myself, and then he won the whole thing. So I thought, Hardy might reverse and then Hardy would win, but no, Sami Zayn was declared the victor of this match. We see Roman Reigns laughing backstage, as I can only imagine he would, because Sami Zayn is no threat to that title, and I like Sami Zayn, but let's be real here. And then Kayla Braxton goes in the ring to interview Sami, only to find out in her headpiece that Brock Lesnar's suspension has been lifted, and he will be back on SmackDown next week. So it sure seems like they're building the Brock and Roman at, I thought it would be the Rumble. And I would not have Brock win the Rumble. I think that'd be fucking dumb, but that could be where this is leading. He is back a lot sooner than I thought he would be, though. I thought he would be back in early January after day one. But maybe they're setting up for Roman and Brock 2 at day one instead of at the Rumble. Very interesting. Sami Zayn obviously has a title shot in his back pocket. Drew McIntyre was not involved in this thing. He was pissed about that, so clearly he's another one they're waiting to give a title shot to at some point against Roman, maybe at WrestleMania. And then there's Jeff Hardy, who was also screwed at the last second. And I think Jeff Hardy will get a title shot. Probably, I would say probably at some point between now and WrestleMania, like at the February pay-per-view, maybe the Saudi show. They could do Roman and Jeff. I think that'd be cool. Obviously, that's a feud they have to do at some point, without a doubt. So there's that. And also Woods, too. So King Woods was not on the show. And for those wondering why, I did interview him on Wednesday. And he told me at the very beginning when we were discussing Thanksgiving and whatever, that he had a rare 3 days off. Now, that was on Wednesday. So I assume he had Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. And he'd be back next week. So he's been involved with a lot lately. With G4 and all this other stuff. So it sounded like they gave him the weekend off, and that's why he wasn't on SmackDown. So that's why he wasn't in the Battle Royal. That's why he didn't win the whole thing. I assume that bad blood, that feud isn't over either. I don't think they just did Woods and Roman just to bleed into Big E and Roman at Survivor Series. I still think there is more to come between Roman and Woods. So maybe he gets involved somehow. Maybe we get some sort of a multi-man match at day one with Sami and Hardy and Woods and Brock and all these other people. Who knows? But this would be a perfect time for an Elimination Chamber match. Sami, Jeff, Woods, Drew, and Brock, and Roman. That would be perfect. Obviously, I would not take the belt off of Roman just yet. Ultimately, I don't know. I feel like Sami won't get his title shot. It'll just be on TV. Like, they'll do it on TV like a week or two from now, have Roman win with ease, and then build the Brock at the next pay-per-view, or maybe Woods. That next pay-per-view is in Atlanta, and Woods is an Atlanta guy. So that would be perfect timing if they did the match there. They could always do the match on SmackDown. It doesn't feel pay-per-view worthy, but if they build it up more, maybe it will. The Hardy match, I would say, for like the Rumble or the Saudi show in February or whatever it is. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting way to close the show. There's a lot of different directions they can go in right now with the Universal title picture. So it's interesting. They definitely have my interest, to say the least. Overall, like I said, a pretty decent edition of SmackDown for a holiday show. I didn't love everything. Like, the Garza and Boogs match was what it was. I just don't really know where it's going. And the Charlotte and Toni segment was just bizarre. But Cesaro and Holland was what it needed to be. The opening tag team match was good. Roman's promo was good. The Battle Royal was what it needed to be, with an interesting finish. And the women's tag team match was also good. So the good outweighed the bad on this show. A good use of 2 hours this week. Better than it has been lately, in my opinion. And we'll see what they have in store for the remainder of 2021. Next week, we have, 5 more episodes of SmackDown in 2021. We have the 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, and New Year's Eve, I guess. I guess New Year's Eve falls on a Friday this year, so I guess Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, maybe they'll do it. They'll probably tape the shows in advance, I would have to imagine, but, time will tell. I know they have the pay-per-view itself on Saturday the 1st, so they'll probably do SmackDown on the 31st. They'll just tape it in advance or whatever. I doubt they would do it that night. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys, for my review of the Black Friday edition of SmackDown. Thank you for checking this out. I appreciate it. A lot of content coming here to the channel, more interviews to be posted. I have a lot of reviews going up between the Ruthless Aggression show, Broken Skull Sessions. I have yet to watch that. A lot of shit to catch up on Peacock, and all those reviews will be up at some point. Hawkeye as well, Talking Smack. So keep an eye out in the days to come for plenty of more content coming here to the channel. On that note, guys, have a great rest of your holiday weekend. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.